1943, we came here in 1943, and Reverend James Everett was pastor, and that was their first pastorate right from Olivet. And his wife just died in December, Alta Everett. She was 99. They made $13 a week. That was their salary. My dad felt that he deserved a raise, and the rest of the board didn't go along with that. My dad said, well, if the money doesn't come in, I'll pay it. Well, you know how God works, so the money came in. Lots of times they didn't even have food to eat after church. She told me this many, many years later. Wow. My mother and dad would invite them over for hot chocolate and toast. And that's what they had to eat. So they never did forget the Moomaw. So they were the pastor.
1946, I'm not sure what pastor was there at the time, but that's when my family had come to the Sandusky Church.
Schreiber.
Pastor Schreiber. We were asked to transfer from the Norwalk Church. It was during the war, and they had to close the Norwalk Church. So Dr. Harvey S. Galloway asked if we would transfer, and my parents said yes. We lived in Berlin Heights at the time. I can remember also the Schreibers. We were pretty close friends with the Schreibers.
My parents too.
And I can remember actually when they resigned and left the church that my parents helped them move. I can remember storing things at our home in Berlin Heights and helping them move. That was my first collection of the Sandusky Church.
Well, this is when Schreiber was here, so evidently you weren't here for this picture.
I used to come on Wednesday nights to prayer meeting. I wasn't there for this picture, but I can remember coming to Wednesday night prayer meetings with my grandma at the Adams Street.
And the pastor Schreiber's in there with his family. I'm one of them here, and my mother and dad are in the back. And out of all of these people, as far as who's attending the church now, I'm the only one left out of this picture since my dad passed away. But a lot of these were the same family because we'd go out and invite children. My dad was one that wanted children to come to Sunday school and church, so he was out there working on that. And this is what, it was on Adams Street. This is what, it was an old building, didn't have any plumbing. We didn't run in and out to the restroom because there wasn't one. You had to go to the house next door. Of course, our parents made sure we stayed in the service. And the church actually started out in a tent meeting. But then from Adams Street, while Everett was here, he's the one that bought the property on Tiffin and Jay Street, we always called it. Tiffin Avenue there. And they prayed in the steel windows because it was during the war and you couldn't get windows. I remember them telling about that, how they were able to get those. But they took a lot of pledges to pay for things. And they didn't call them faith like we do now, faith promise. We made it and made the pledge and felt that by faith we would pay it. But people prayed. That was one of the things that the revivals that we used to have that would last for 2 weeks. And I remember when Chuck Peterson came to church. He was not a Christian, brought his family. His mother played the piano for us.
Carolyn.
And he was so under conviction. He got saved in that revival, and that turned his whole life around. And his family, too. It changed him completely. Isn't it wonderful that that's what salvation does for us? And that is the hope that we have.
Also, do you remember on Sunday afternoons how your family and our family would go calling we would go out and visit the sick, and our parents would go in and make those calls. But we did it every Sunday, and one Sunday of the month, we went to the jail and had a jail service. And one Sunday of the month, we went to the nursing home, and there were some of the nursing home people that could not come out to the service, but I can remember my dad and your dad going into the rooms and visiting them and praying with them back, and hopefully we did touch lives.
But how many people received Christ or found Christ? We don't know that, but we sow the seeds, just like the children in this picture, and the other one of the bus ministry. This is the bus ministry, and this is when they had the largest group of kids on the bus. And show them where Pastor Bramer is. I'll apply his head a little farther. There.
Merrill Bramer was our pastor.
Yeah. Then my dad's down below there with his record book, keep track of the kids.
Tom Bosky, our driver, who is still driving for us.
Yep.
Jim Robinson, who was our Sunday school superintendent for over 30 years, very faithful. We also expanded our bus ministry, and we picked up, children in our car too. Tom and his sister Carol Bickley, and Nancy Hibbard, and their brother Ron didn't have a car, and so my dad had a 37 Chevy, and we went out, and my dad was like the church bus at that time, and he would take us to church, go out and pick up a family, bring the family to church, go out and get another family and bring them to church, and that's how we did it. We just, and
we used our cars.
Yeah, we did use our cars. We had a good example of our parents and what they did.
Well, when you think too of these children that we were taking the gospel to,
right.
They didn't contribute anything to the finances or help with the work. This particular group.
Right.
Now, but I remember my dad telling too how on the cold winter mornings he would go out and get the bus started up to get it warm for the driver when they came. He even drove it, and sometimes he had to go in and help some of them get dressed. He'd call them the night before, every one of them, when the time change was going to come, so they'd be sure and get up and get ready. He was involved in their lives. He knew what was going on in their lives, and the parents too, to win them to Christ,
Right.
giving them that hope in Christ Jesus. Well, after Lakin, then the Cooks came, and that's when the top was put on the church. When they started to put the top on the church, that's what these cement blocks are, with the aluminum things sticking out, so the bricks would stick with them. I don't know how much your mother and dad helped over there, but I know that my dad did too.
My dad used to do the lawn over there.
Oh yes, it was immaculate.
Yeah, my dad did the trimming, and my dad, when it would get dry, I can remember my dad getting in his car. He lived on West Madison Street at the time, not too far from the church, but he would put the sprinkler on, and then he'd tell Mother every hour or whatever he would drive over, and he would change the sprinkler and make sure that the grass was green, and he would fertilize it, and was just very, very faithful.
And he wanted to look nice.
Right, he took a lot of pride in how the church looked.
Make it look
right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then this is when my dad taught these boys. And here's another Papenpoose that was in, he's probably one of them in this first picture here too, because there were a lot of them. But this boy here was Reverend Schreiber's son, and our Pastor Brown right now said he must have been a devious boy because he was a preacher's kid. And I said, well, you're right, he was too. But that's how the building looked. And then here's one of Beulah Klotz's class, and this is what the brick looked like. Beulah Klotz, she and her sisters worked for the Salvation Army. They were in the Salvation Army. But here's Carolyn Cheek now, she was Bowser. Joyce Klotz, that's her daughter. Here's my brother Phil and Larry Quick. And whenever Mr. Quick would get up to testify, he was a barber. He always had a lot of money in his pockets, and he'd jingle that change while he was testifying. You remember those testimonies people gave? They were really valuable to us, being younger.
Reverend Elwood Dodge was the pastor of the church also there on Tiffin Avenue. And there's a few people here, Trey Gamuma, Nancy Hibbard, Ruth Cheek, Rosemary Bowser, Helen Fair, Hazel Reynolds, May Forbes, Chuck Peterson, Helen Alvers, there's Carolyn Cheek, Joyce Bowser at the time.
Well, and I was thinking about this picture too. These are the ones that went before us, because a lot of them were our teachers and influenced us.
And they gave us hope.
That's right.